Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Doc.
One Doc.
It's your girl, BD.
It's Foreign's the fiance.
And we are back.
We're back.
With another episode, another documentary, another
being
week.
Trash.
And I am still sipping on the Moscato from the last episode because we recorded these consecutively, and the glass remains
back, baby.
Back to back, baby. It's kind of late. That's why I'm quite tired. But you know what? It's fine. We have a show to present, and we shall present that show. Okay. Yeah. Any other opening thoughts that you have for the people?
No, I'm just really hungry.
Right. And on that note, so this week we are covering the Cleveland Strangler.
And I will say, I'd never heard of this case, surprisingly, till I listened to a documentary, a podcast on it. I think a week before I suggested this, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh shit. But I'd never heard of it, which was so strange. Like, I'd heard of the other guy we've covered.
You know why you hadn't heard of it? Come on.
Why?
Because he was killing the blacks.
Oh, that's true. True that. I'd heard of the other guy that strangled women, though.
Oh, the one we did the Confessions of a Serial Killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know they only like to uplift one black at a time, so...
That's true.
The first black strangler or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Yeah.
So this is a Vice documentary. Vice documentaries are they are akin, will I say, to YouTube documentaries. I'm just going to leave that with your thoughts, and you can decide what that means.
This one wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, but
it was weird.
It wasn't Netflix, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, it was a weird documentary though.
It was strange. Yeah, it was kind of like, yeah. Right. Anyway, let's just stay with us. Right. So the documentary starts, and we see a lady called Inez Fortson, who is the adoptive mother of Talasha L. Alexander Fortson, who at this point I assume is a victim of the Cleveland Strangler, because otherwise why are we opening the scene with this lady, right? So Inez is telling us how Talasha told her, she'd be back to see her. She went away and she was like, I'll come back after a month. But she didn't hear anything from her. She calls the police. East Cleveland police, let's shout them out because they were terrible, right? She calls the East Cleveland police and never hears anything back. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Black woman goes missing. Nobody gives a fuck, right? So we see some courtroom footage, and the judge, it's so crazy how they edit this, because it's like the judge is naming all the women who were missing and killed by this guy being Anthony Sowell. And I swear there's a bit in the scene where you can see that he's sleeping during trial. It's just me.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry, is this boring you? The fact that you've taken all these lives, is everything all right with you? But alas. So we hear that he was arrested in 2009, currently on death row after killing 11 women between 2007 and 2009. 11 women. That is a football team, is it not?
Sorry, can I just say also right? About,
okay.
It is. Can I just say also about Cleveland? I'm so sorry, for people in America listening, but after Detroit, Cleveland is the asshole of not Cleveland, Ohio.
And
I'm saying this is somebody who went
uni, innit?
Yeah, to uni there.
Oh yeah, it's Cleveland, Ohio, isn't
literally,
it?
even before I went to uni there, Cleveland, Ohio is whoa. Are you fucking kidding me?
But then why did you choose to go uni there?
I didn't choose. So basically, they put you in unis based on your course, and they give you a selection. And I'm so happy I went there, because some of the other places were very white.
Right, okay.
I would not have had fun the way I had fun. Yeah. I really wish I could go back and relive that semester, because it was probably one of the best periods of my life. I was really homesick by the end, but during that was probably one of the best periods of my life. It was a lot of fun.
Sure was.
But it was definitely the arsehole. Yeah. After Detroit. What the fuck? So yeah.
But yeah, so there we are in Ohio, Cleveland. So Anthony Sowell was killed 11 women between 2007 and 2009, right? Right. So in this documentary, it's like there's a narrator, right? And it's similar to like that Confessions of a Serial Killer. He's this guy, and I don't know how we managed to make it about him, right? Because he's telling us about his parents. Both of his parents were cops, police officers, when like 11 bodies were found like buried in this house in Chicago, right? And we see the scene of the narrator guy talking to his parents and kind of asking, why do you think that Sowell was able to kill for so long? And as we mentioned, like, it's the same thing every single time. Like, his mum is like,
I think had that have happened in a upper middle class neighborhood, first of all, they wouldn't have let that smell go on in that neighborhood. So they would have sent somebody from the city. Somebody would have been out to check that out.
Basically, there were dead bodies piling up literally in this man's house in Chicago, right? Because he's killing these women and he is keeping them in the house. Burying, I guess he eventually buries them, but like he's keeping them in there. And so there is this like rancid smell of like dead bodies, right? And it's like if that smell was running through like a middle class neighborhood, no one's having that. And then she also says,
I had a case one time where a lady had like 17 cars just running and looking all over because she had gotten robbed. Mm-hmm. And when we finally got the guy, I said, well, how much did you have? She only had $10 in her purse. And I said, you had us doing all this running for $10? And my boss told me, he said, it doesn't make any difference how much money she had. It was her money and nobody had a right to take it from her. And those women, they were crack addicts and prostitutes or whatever, they still have a right to be able to walk the streets and not have anybody take anything from them or harm them, especially not kill them.
It's the principle of the thing, which I agree with, but the same energy is not continued, is not passed along to sex workers, addicts, Black people. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, they don't keep that same energy, right? Because it's kind of like, oh, well, you deserved it if you weren't on crack, or if you weren't doing this, then this wouldn't have happened. That's not the case. Whether you're doing X or doing Y, like, you should not have your life taken from you.
Yeah. I just find it crazy that, like, you can kill people, leave them in your house, and still
live in that
house. That's what I find really frightening. So you go downstairs to make a cup of tea, and there's just a body chilling there. Do you not fear...
but it was in the basements, though.
Either way, it's still in the same house. I don't...
But he probably is going there to look like trophies and stuff. It probably even makes him happy.
You must be very disturbed. That's what I can
of course
say.
You're very disturbed. You're killing 11 women. I feel like as a normal person, you can't even fathom.
Yeah, I can't sleep in the same vicinity as a cemetery. And I didn't kill any of the bodies there. What more? In my house?
In my home. Right, exactly. So our narrator meets up with the investigators of that Sowell case, Melvin Smith and Lem Griffin. So October 29th, 2009 is when the investigation started, right? So there was someone reports rape, and basically it's like her underwear was like left at the house. So the investigators go to kind of like investigate this particular rape, and then they start discovering the bodies, and then it becomes a homicide investigation. And I'm kind of like, bitch, what about the rape? Like, that still stands, but okay, whatever. So we see some crime scene footage. They show us like a skull in a bucket, which is very, very, very disgusting, also disturbing, also why. And then Melvin and Lem are kind of describing the scene to us too. Mainly the smell and the fact that there were like rat feces and flies and just like everything disgusting that you can probably think of was there. This guy was living there, cooking there, eating there. Like, this kind of man, prison is probably going to be an upgrade for him, because how are you inhabiting this space? Like, how are you doing that?
He stank. Like, he smelled terrible everywhere.
He must do. Yeah. Like, it's like, when you make like stew or you make curry and it's like in your clothes, like it's in you. You go out somewhere else and you still smell like that. But imagine dead body.
And the thing is that you can never get clean in that house. So even if you shower, you won't be clean.
What is the shower? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your shower probably even smells like your water supply is probably infected. Very disgusting. Very disgusting. So they find 4 bodies upstairs, and you're right, because the bodies are everywhere. They're not just in the basement, because they find 4 of them upstairs. They find 1 body plus the skull in the basement. And now they're like, like, if we're seeing this many bodies in this many places within this one home, like, what else is there, right? They look throughout the house. They find more bodies buried in the garden. Right. So we found out about his. Now my notes seem really higgy-hagger, but the documentary was a bit like, no, like all over the shop. So we found out that his MO was that he would have oral sex with them, then vaginal sex with them. And it was sex actually, because they were sex workers, so he was paying for them to have sex with him. And then he would sodomize them while strangling them. That was how he worked, right?
That's how he finished.
Right. So then he sentenced to death. And he actually speaks at his sentencing. And he says,
the only thing I want to say is that I'm sorry. I know that might not sound like much, but I truly am sorry from the bottom of my heart. This is not typical of me. I don't know what happened. I can't explain it. But I know it's not a lot, but that's all I can give you.
You know when you say this is not typical of me, it's like, oh, like if I'm at the office and suddenly I start shouting at someone, like I overreact to something, I'm like, I'm so sorry, like I was having a bad day, this is not typical of me. You can't say this is not typical of me after.
And also, if you then shout 11 times, and say, so it's not typical of you, and they go, every Friday at 4 p.m. you shout. Like, this is actually who you are. Like, this is actually a bit of you.
Like, the audacity of him. Like, I'm sorry, I know it's not funny in context of what it is, but it was so funny to me when I was watching it, because I was like, yeah, it is typical of you. These are 11 bodies.
This is exactly what you are. This is who you are.
You can't say it's not typical of me when you've premeditated a murder. Like, yeah, it actually
11.
It is typical of you, like, and you don't you can accidentally kill someone, but you literally sodomize and strangle these people. So you feel they're like whatever bone that is breaking your hand. So yeah, it is extremely typical of you. This actually is your behavior. This is who you are.
This is who you are. This is who you are.
This nigga said it's not
I can't explain it.
He said whoops.
And he said whoopsie daisy 11 times. Get out of here. Get out.
He said fuck it up like oopsie daisy.
Oh my God. Stop it.
No.
So he doesn't actually look like a serial killer, but of course, what does a serial killer look like? Do you know what I mean? He kind of looks, you know what he looks like to me? You know that guy, that cartoon meme where like the guy's like rejected by the girl and he's like, in 10 years time, I'll be rich and you're going to be like...
Oh, yeah.
He just gives me that kind of vibe. Like, he just looks like no one really noticed him. He was just kind of in the background.
But to be honest, like, I don't know how he smelled because I wasn't about him, but if he cleaned up, was dressed in a like well-fitted suit and you went out to a bar in a night and you were like in your mid-30s and he moved to you, you'd probably have it. He's not a bad-looking guy.
Yeah, he just looks a bit strange.
Does he? It's because you know of his evils. It's because you know of his not typical
It's because he said that's not typical of him. I'm like,
but it is. The lack of self-awareness.
There is none. And that's what you came to say. If that was my family member and one of the 11 that you killed and you say it's not typical, I'll throw my shoe at you.
It's literally just like he gave the same apology as like when I'm driving and I hit the curb and I'm like, oops,
sorry,
sorry, that was just an accident.
I don't usually do this.
I don't usually do that, like soz.
So we learn a bit about him, and like I understand learning about people and how they grew up and stuff. But at the end of the day, however you grew up, you killed 11 people, and like I don't give a fuck about your childhood. But I mean, it was a bit peak. He grew up in East Cleveland in the 50s in a black neighborhood, etc. And then in the 60s, local industry fails, and they have like race riots, and then that leads to white flight, which is when all the white people move to the suburbs, and then like the black areas become the ghetto. So that's his story. That's his life. We now meet Melvette Sockwell, who is a survivor, and she's telling us about that time. Like, loads of people are on drugs. Basically, East Cleveland is just a shit show. Like, it's just trash, right? Mm-hmm. We hear that Sowell joins the Marines, and I don't know why people that like join the Marines and the Navy and the Army and all this, sometimes they come back a bit somehow. But anyway,
it like ignites whatever,
like PTSD and shit. Yeah. So okay, we'll get into it. So he joins the Marines. He comes back in 1985. He meets Melvette and then he rapes and tortures her. I have a question mark here because it wasn't exactly clear what exactly happened. But either way, he assaulted her in some manner, right? But basically, Sowell gets a plea bargain and he's sentenced to 15 years for attempted rape, right? So this is 1985. He gets out in 2005. And he has to register as a sex offender, which of course you do. Obviously, Nicki Minaj's husband is not really aware of this, but that's what people do. You have to register as a sex offender. Right. So there's no DNA entered of his into the database, which is disappointing because I reckon that could have saved a lot of lives.
A lot of time.
But then also maybe not, because was anyone even really investigating these things until like they discovered... Because 11 of the bodies were there when the other lady was... Do you know what I mean? So I don't even know if having his DNA would have
helped.
saved those lives.
Yeah.
Right. So during the documentary, we do hear like the names and times of when certain people go missing. And I'm going to say their names because they are important, right?
Yeah.
So Crystal Dozier goes missing in June 2007. And then this is when the stench, and they say stench, stench really means like a foul smell. Like stench
it's
is not
hanging
like
in the air.
Yeah, like stench is not like a fart. Do you know what I mean? Stench is like
it's the part of the air now. It's thick.
Right. It's thick. It's thick.
You can't even fucking open. Imagine living there in the heat of the summer. You can't even open your fucking windows because your neighbor's a murderer. Like, what the fuck? Did you not think about that? Like, sometimes when my neighbors are like barbecuing and I open the windows, it's like the smoke's all in my room now.
Today I opened the window and I could smell, and I didn't even open, I cracked the window and I could smell cigarette smoke because my neighbor was smoking outside. And I literally was like, yeah, I'm shutting the window. Imagine dead body. Disgusting. Yeah. Disgusting. So, so this bit is really annoyed me, because, like, I mean, people assume that the smell is from, like, the corner shop, right? And we actually meet the owner in the documentary. His name is Elias, right? And he says that, like, what's his name? Anthony Sowa used to always come in and he's really smelly, as Foreign said, and he used to buy, like, heavy-duty bags. And we learned that people in the neighborhood would racially abuse Elias, basically saying he's a smelly Arab, right? Because he was Arab, right? And it's like, fam, you're saying that this one guy in his shop is causing this stench. Meanwhile, this nigga's collecting bodies.
This nigga stinks. You don't think that's the stinkiest person?
Is the smell not concentrated? Is it not that it fans
saying.
out a little bit?
Like, he is the stinkiest of them all. So if he walks into the room and he's stanking, automatically I would be thinking, that must be coming from him.
Right. And it's like, people always say that, like, when you smell a dead body once, like, that smell, like, there's no mincing words, like, what that smell is. And it's like, anyway, whatever.
I never in my life want to smell a dead body.
Ever. Same.
Oh.
So Elias tells us that loads of people actually came to apologize to him when the truth came out, basically because everyone was, like, racially abusing him. And good, they should have, but then they also should not have been abusing him. So now we continue with the timeline of murders. We have Tashana Culver, who was last seen in June 2008. We have LaShonda Long, missing in August 2008. This is the lady whose head was in the bucket. Proper sad. That's like our last image of you. Health inspectors visit in the summer of 2008, right? And they blame this establishment called Ray's Sausage Company.
It doesn't make sense,
Who paid $200,000 to upgrade their ventilation, but it still smells. Now, I hope that Ray and his sausage factory, I hope that
Ray
they
and his
sued.
sausage.
Ray and his sausage.
Ooh.
I hope that they sued somebody and got something, because how? $200K.
But the thing is that these health inspectors are stupid. Because you walk in, Ray's sausage is not stinking, but next door is stinking, and you're still telling Ray's sausage to sort out the ventilation. Like, is your suit actually all right? Is your hazmat suit all right? Like, what are you doing?
The thing is that even if, you don't think that there's a murderer, because of course your first thought, the average human being's first thought is not dead bodies lie here,
Yeah.
But would you not even think, come on, like,
the smell is not coming from here,
off, or is it right? Yeah,
it's a fucking sausage. Like, sausage doesn't stink that bad. I guess if you're throwing out like the raw meat, but even at that,
but it will smell like raw meat though. It will smell like raw meat,
not dead body.
Right, not something fouler or more foul. Sorry,
not Jack Fowler.
Not Jack Fowler. So Vanessa Gay, this is now September 2008, right? He invites Vanessa Gay over, they smoke, and then he punches her and rapes her multiple times, right? And she survives because we see her testifying. And it's proper sad. Like, she escapes, she manages to escape. She calls the police and they say that, like, no, she has to come in to give her statement. Like, she can't give it over the phone. And so she's scared and she doesn't want to go. So she doesn't go. She doesn't give her statement. She just doesn't, right? So we see her today and, like, her story is really strange to me because, like, she had a really good life. She got into, like, the street life in her 30s, which is late. Like, normally when you're in the streets, like, you've been in the streets, like, you've
what if that's me? Like, I've had a really
This is what that was my thought. I was
you
like,
thought it was like me?
No, about me, sis.
Oh.
I was like, what if I get to my 30s and I'm like, oh, rah, like, now I just spiral and now, like,
literally. I've had a good
crazy
life. What if I just...
Because she had a great life. Like, everything was fine. Her family was, like, doing all right. Like, she had a good job and everything. But yeah, the narrator asks her about her experience reporting to the police. And she says...
Probably one of the most hurting things, because if a person does something wrong to you, you're supposed to call the police. No, if on the other end of that phone, you feel more betrayed by those people than the person that hurt you, whether you do. You know, it was just a feeling of hopelessness then, you know, and not even just by the police, just the community didn't understand what I was going through.
So she also says that it wasn't just the police, but it was also the community who didn't really care about her because at the time she was a drug addict, which is a really sad place to be in. It's kind of like, yeah, like just because you're a drug addict doesn't mean you don't deserve care, love, and, you know, help and all that stuff. Sis makes a really good point about the police when she says,
and I understand that they have a very hard job, but you chose this job. Have some compassion for another human being.
That part, like, I get that being a police officer is hard. Like, I'm sure it's not an easy thing to be.
Yeah.
But, like, sort it out, mate. Like, you know, this is your job. You chose this job. Don't force you to be here.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if they'd taken her seriously at that time, maybe all these other women that are going to
would still be alive.
Would still be alive. Exactly. So we're back to the timeline of missing women, and we have Michelle Mason missing October 2008, Tonya Carmichael November 2008. All of these women were reported missing. No one gave a fuck. So now we meet Clarence, a barber who knew many of the victims, and he tells us they were all drug addicts. They weren't taken seriously because of this, as we mentioned. He was
kind of sexy.
Yeah, in
he was definitely a bit of May.
Yeah, in a Cleveland kind of way. He also says lots of them reported so well, but there was no investigation. Meanwhile, this man just came out of jail. He just came out of jail 3 years ago for attempted rape or whatever. No one thought, oh, actually, maybe we should,
He's the first
take a
person
look into this guy.
Yeah.
No one cared. Cool. So now Gladys Wade, in 2008, she was attacked and dragged home by Sowell. He strangles her and she fights back and she runs and she survives. And she runs to a restaurant and they decline her. They're like, no, we're not letting you in, right? So she flags down a patrol car and then 2 officers go to Sowell's house and see blood and they see like evidence of like something going on here. They arrest him, they book him, and they assign the case to this person called Georgia Hussein. Okay, and Georgia Hussein decides that it's appropriate to just file robbery charges and neither a charge of rape nor assault, right? So she files robbery charges and then she releases him. I think Georgia should be in jail.
Yeah.
I think that Georgia is culpable in all the murders
She's
that follow.
She's retired now. I went and I found her.
That's her own. She should be in jail. That's where she should have retired. Georgia actually goes to the house and surprisingly, amazingly, one might say, she doesn't smell the rotting flesh. I don't know what it is about Georgia. I don't know what her nostrils are saying, but Georgia
she had COVID.
I think Georgia had COVID. I think Georgia Bin had COVID, a pioneer. 2008, Georgia had COVID because her sense of smell gone. Literally, did not. She said, "I didn't smell a thing." Like she
I don't know who that smell is.
She said, "I don't know who that smell is." Sorry to that smell. Like she didn't smell a thing. So
yeah.
He's alive and he's released and free to kill. So now he's uncharged, right? He's living his best life, and he kills Kim Smith in January 2009. Nancy Cobbs in April 2009, Imelda Hunter in spring 2009, Janice Webb in June 2009, and Talasha Fortson in June 2009 as well.
Was that 6 women?
And Diane Turner in September 2009. So that's 7. Oh, that's 6. Yeah, that's 6.
6 after he was released, based on
so Georgia has 6 bodies on her head. Yeah.
COVID knows.
Okay. Right. So April 2009, right? A woman reported being raped by him, but no one did a rape kit. September 22nd, 2009, the sex offender people follow up with, what's his name, Anthony Sowell that same day, right? And he basically, remember he invited that Latondra, well, he invites Latondra Billups, yeah, that's her name, to smoke and, you know, chill and drink and stuff like that, right? This is September 22nd, 2009. He tells her to take off her clothes. He rapes her. He strangles her. She escapes. He tells the police. And this is basically full circle now because this is the woman from the beginning who is like, you know, he did this to me. My pants were at his house. And then the police pass it to sex crimes, but they don't move forward for a month. Fast forward to a month, October 2009. Sean Morris, fam. This one was just like, what? Sean Morris is another woman who encounters Anthony Sowell, and she has to throw herself out of the 2nd floor window to save her life. And we actually see CCTV footage of Sowell following her, right? Naked. And his neighbor like recounts this story.
Damnest thing I ever seen in my life. She was butt naked. Then she was bleeding out her mouth and nose. I saw Anthony Sowell come around the corner, and he was naked. He said, man, this is my woman. And we was fucking. And she fell out the window. That shit just didn't sound right to me. I called 911. First time in my life calling 911, you know?
And this is what I mean about, like, being, like holding men accountable. Like, instead of looking the other way and being like, oh, fam, what crazy bitch, like, oh, they were fucking, like, and she fell out the window. Being like, nah, something is wrong here. Like, this is not normal. And then calling the police or, you know, doing something. So he says he calls 911 for the first time ever. And this is how you know, the blacks, they don't trust the popo. They do not.
At all.
They do not. But this neighbor was like, this is wrong. This is weird. Something ain't right. I have to call the police. So he calls them. And Sean is unconscious for 3 days. For some reason, Sowell is the one who takes her to hospital. No one questions him. And he calls and threatens her and is like, fam, if you speak, you'll be in big trouble. Basically.
It's just the running out naked that was crazy to me. Like, she ran out and then you ran out with cock in hand.
Right.
Ain't nobody trying to see that.
Desperately trying to escape to run out naked. Your thought was just get out of
No,
him.
I mean, even talk about her, because I understand why she ran out naked.
Yeah, but I understand why she ran out naked. But I'm saying the fact that she ran out naked, like imagine her mental state at that time. Yeah. Right. And with him, he's thinking, I need to get her back ASAP. Yeah. That's what he's thinking. He's thinking, I don't have time to on my pants.
Just imagine this naked guy running up to you, trying to have this conversation, and you're like, bro, like, your dick is out. Like, what the fuck?
Leave me alone. And the neighbor just being like, what is... You know, if that was in London, you just shut your door and say, okay, well, none of my business. So, yeah, 9 days after 29th, now we're on, Latondra Billups, the lady he attacked, files a report, and then we get that SWAT raid the same day where they're kind of like, oh, there's the pants, it was a rape, but here are some bodies, let's focus on that kind of thing. We speak to a former officer who says that they were understaffed and that the force didn't really rape black women. That's kind of what he says, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they're drug addicts, like 1 + 1 = nobody cares kind of thing. And so they had like 14 detectives on 1,371 cases. Like, let's do the quick maths. Let's actually do it. Let's do it. So 1,371 cases divided by 14 police officers is 97.9. So like 98 cases each.
And each of those cases will require you following up, talking to witnesses, doing an investigation. It's actually impossible.
Like, how is one supposed to do that? And then, like, more crimes are coming. More crimes are happening. Yeah. It's not as if, like,
this is Cleveland,
crime has ceased.
On a daily basis.
It's not said, pause crime until we sorted these cases. Crime is continuing. Like, I get it. That is wild. But again, like,
it's the life
we need to figure out why there's only 14 detectives available for such cases. It turns out 73% of cases were dropped. And over 4,000 rape kits weren't even tested. So why are we doing the rape kits if they're not going to be tested? No point. What's the point of that? In December 2014, there's a report about the Chicago Police Department. Chicago, you know, how did we get there? The Cleveland Police Department's failings. Same report as one they did 10 years ago. We get a bit into police brutality, injustice. What else is new, right? And then we meet like a policeman basically saying like, you know, we can't solve them all. People to expect him to solve stuff like riddles. And I'm like, yeah, because it's your job. Like,
it's your job. He's acting like, oh, he's doing this volunteer, like as a volunteer, and people are like, he was very weird. Like, it just seemed like he just wanted to wear his oversized trouser and leather jack.
And then have his holster, his gun in his holster. He was moving like, we were in Subway and I was like, look, like someone's missing, like, can you solve? And he's like, fam, I'm here to make your sub. Like, that's not how he was moving. Like, people expect me to like solve crimes. I mean,
and it's like, yeah, nigga, that's your job. Like, what the fuck?
Like, literally, people expect me to solve crimes. Like, yeah, because you are a detective.
He's like, me?
Detect.
Yeah, that is literally your job.
So strange. He was a really strange guy. I was like, why did you even give him airtime? Like,
I feel like he's one of the one of those like typical donut police officers. Like, he just wants to eat his donuts, drink a coffee, sing about his
abuse people.
Yeah, sing about his like gun, and that's it. Like anything that requires brain power, he's not on it. Yeah.
So the documentary ends with a slideshow of pictures of all the victims. It's really sad, but very necessary, I believe, because at least our last image isn't of like their bodies or you know them in a bad way. Like, we see them smiling and happy and stuff. I actually did some research for the first time ever. just about him and his life. And I just went on Wikipedia, basically. And turns out he was actually one of 7 children born to a single mum. But then there were 7 other children belonging to Sewell's sister who also lived in the household. And they moved in with them after his sister died from like a chronic illness. So let's recap. So 7 children born to his mother, right? So he's got 6 siblings, right? One of his siblings had 7 children, but she died. So now there's 7 extra children in the house, right? Right.
That's a lot of chilling.
Wild. That's a lot of chilling. So apparently, Sewell starts raping his niece on almost a daily basis for 2 years, starting when she was 10.
Fuck.
Right. And that's why when he's saying, oh, this is not typical of me, this has been typical of you. Like, this is actually you. This is actually very, very much you. Like, the moments you're not raping and strangling are atypical.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally,
this is your daily routine.
This is who you are.
It's like brushing your teeth, yeah.
Thankfully, he died from a terminal illness on the 8th of February in 2021, which is the 1-year anniversary of our podcast. So we thank God that he's no longer with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just some extra facts.
So wait, what happened to the niece?
I don't know what happened to her.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And also there was some conversation about, so where the house was, they were meant to turn it into a memorial and they still haven't received funding from the government to do so. And like the kids left behind, so the kids of his victims just haven't received any therapy or counselling either.
It's
so
all
around it's been a fuck you.
Like Talasha, one of Talasha's children tried to commit suicide because he felt like he was the reason that his mum died.
Yeah. And then like even some of them still don't have
man.
headstones because they were told not to purchase headstones for their family because like the state would do it and it just didn't. So it's just like a continuous fuck you to the victims.
Literally to the victims and their families, literally. But that takes us to our news segment.
The real crime, I think, was the beard.
Where we focus on something during the documentary that may not be criminal, but we definitely consider to be a crime. You're looking at me like you don't have one. I've got one though. Have you got one?
I just thought of one.
Okay, do you want to go?
I was going to say his smell. Although I did not smell it. The descriptor alone tells me everything I need to tell. And I think it's really a crime against humanity that one can be allowed to smell like that.
And be around others, yeah. Now, mine ties in quite nicely to that because not just the smell, but the real crime, I think, was them blaming Elias and the sausage factory for said smell. Because in what worlds could one... How? Because how?
How?
They don't seem
Unless you're
bothered
mixing
enough
your
for
shit
me.
in with the sausage, it's not going to stink like that.
How? I just don't even know. And even making it a memorial, like, can that land ever smell the same again? And I'm sure
the smell must be ingrained.
It's like those houses, they did not look, maybe semi-detached at best.
The best.
So your neighbours, I'm sure that smell seeped into the walls. Even if you knock it down and start again, I don't know that that's, I don't
know. The only thing we can take solace from is the fact that he is burning in the hottest hell possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the peace
He
lies.
did. Amen.
Cute.
Yeah. Wow, that was
interesting. I find the case very interesting.
It is very interesting. It's like, how did you get... I think it is partly because he looks so unassuming as well.
Yeah.
Like, he just looks like any guy. Like, I wouldn't cross the road if I saw him. Well, maybe because he's a man.
He looks like a black guy from Fillmore. Is that what that show was called?
Oh my God. Can you respect Fillmore, please?
Okay, we'll see. I'll post it. I'm telling you, he does.
Can you put some respect on Fillmore's name, please? Because you're not wrong, and that saddens me. Anyway, Fillmore was fighting crime. Fillmore was the detective that other detective wishes that he was.
Yeah. That's who he thinks he is.
Yeah, that he is. Yeah, but he could actually
never.
Ooh, well, ciao.
Yeah. So next week we are doing Piers Morgan. Conversation with a Psychopath. I'm just annoyed that it's Piers Morgan because I fucking hate him.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's a shame. But it's an
I might
interesting...
just leave the Piers Morgan out of the title. I might just put the rest of it as the title.
Yeah, it's an interesting documentary nonetheless. So I'm looking forward to discussing that one.
Yay!
And the people can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Two Girls, One Doc. And they can find you on here at the bottom of a Moscato bottle.
And well, the bottle will be done by the time they hear this.
BD on eyewear.com, where you can submit your what was it?
So basically, I do virtual eyewear styling, right? At the moment, you guys can fill out a questionnaire if you're not sure what kind of glasses will suit you, and I will find some for you and send you the link so you can purchase them should you wish to. Okay, can't guarantee how timely my response will be, but a response you will receive at
eventually.
Some point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can find her on her other podcast, Character Replay.
And also on Instagram, Twitter. That's pretty much it. Instagram and Twitter.
I was going to say, what else are you going to two underscores. And at the end of the aisle,
whenever that's going to be.
I went to an amazing wedding, and I was a bridesmaid, and I looked gorgeous, and I was remarkable. And the wedding was great too. But yeah, no, it was a really good time. Literally, I for a second, I was like reconsidering my eloption for a second.
Yeah.
But I reckon by the end of this week, I will return to my senses, and I'll be like, back to
I reckon you'll have a wedding. It might not be massive.
I kind of was like, oh my God, like the way that I feel right now, I don't really want to rob my friends and family of this feeling that I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
And you don't even want to rob yourself. Because I feel like you put on this whole thing, and like, obviously it's expensive to have a wedding and stuff. But like, I do think you would want to look around that day and all the people you love are there celebrating you. Why would you not want to
look at myself as well in like a really nice dress, and it'd be amazing.
Okay, whatever you say at night to sleep well.
No, but I was thinking about my bridesmaids and who I'd have as my bridesmaids, and I've decided.
I will be so pregnant, I probably won't be able to see my feet.
Yeah, but I feel like if I were to have a wedding, you'd actually be pregnant. Because looking at your timeline, from what we've discussed, I reckon that you will be.
But can I still be a bridesmaid even if I'm pregnant?
Yeah, as long as you can.
Some people don't like it. They're like, oh no, like it ruins the aesthetic.
And I'll be like to your baby, oh look, you were there. As long as you're a useful individual, I don't mind. Don't come and be saying, oh, I need to rest my ankles. That's your own personal problem. So as long as you agree to those terms, then that's fine. You can be, of course.
But what's a useful individual? I'm not going to be running helter skelter.
That's your job. Do you know the helter skelter? I was like, Vicky,
nigga, you were not pregnant.
Okay, so don't be pregnant then. What do you want me to say? I'm trying to include you regardless. And you're trying to say you don't want to be included. What is it?
Let's not argue over hypothetical children that are unconceived.
And hypothetical weddings.
One day my kids are going to listen to this and be like, Mummy, so was I hypothetical? No, darling, you were loved above all others.
You were thetical.
You were thetical and you were prayed for. And I'm so happy you were born of love.
God. Yeah, but they will be born of love. From this point on.
Born of a drunk night and not pulling out.
We'll be born of back shots.
And failed birth control. That is like I remember one time I was talking to my best friend. I was like to him, "Oh, I really feel like the day I conceive, I'm gonna feel it, and it's gonna be magical."
You're gonna feel it. I remember you saying this nonsense.
And he was like to me, "You're gonna come back drunk one day. You're gonna fuck, and you probably wouldn't even remember that you fucked, and then you'll be pregnant." And I really haven't forgiven him for that.
Do you know what I feel like will be? Because for anyone who doesn't know, this girl is pregnant, so-called, every 3 months. She'll be like, oh, I'm going to take a pregnancy test. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And what is it? Negative. Of course it fucking is. I reckon, that the time you actually are pregnant, you will not even think to do a pregnancy test. Yeah. Of all the pregnancy tests that you've done, just literally like, she might have just eaten something and now she's bloated. Oh, I think I'm pregnant. Did you even have the sex? Yeah, but these things happen. Like, literally. I reckon the time that you actually conceive, you're not even going
I think so.
Literally, you're not even going to think about it. You're going to just 3 months later,
did I send you that thing that Annette tagged me in? What? Where it was like, I think it was a meme and the person was like, oh, me eating something that makes me feel sick, taking a pregnancy test. I sent it to you.
I saw it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I do reckon that I will be pregnant for a good 2 or 3 months before I'm like, oh shit, I ain't had a period in ages. What's going on? And then I'll be like,
what are we going to do about pregnancy? How are we going to drink on the podcast?
Oh, I don't think we should be discussing that on the podcast because then people are going to know I'm pregnant before I'm ready to announce. What the fuck? Well, give away the whole cookie recipe. What the fuck?
Not the cookie. Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, we'll discuss this offline.
As is, because I haven't drank in ages. I'm not.
Yeah, but you drank the other day when you came to my house.
Okay, fair enough. But
or did she? Wink, wink.
I'm just trying to get sexy for this wedding.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for your wedding. Like the way I felt at Vicky's wedding, I was like, wow, like it's gonna be like this at your wedding.
I mean, you probably felt like that though because you knew the groom too. Do you not think?
Yeah, probably, yeah, true. But then also, like, the love I have for you is a lot. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if I've said that enough.
I don't know. You don't
Do you not
telling
think?
me and showing me and
Oh, do you know
I don't
what,
feel
guys?
special.
Good.
When was the last time you told me
I'm going to hang up
that
this
you
FaceTime.
loved me and that I was sexy? Okay, you don't make me feel like a woman no more.
Okay. All right, guys.
Guys, we love you. Thank you for sticking with us and listening to this rambling and rant.
If you're still here, then wow.
Wow.
Do you know what we love? You. That's what we love.
Thank you. I'm starving now, so
what are you gonna eat?
My mum
brought out
beans.
Your mum brought out what?
Beans. You know me, I love beans.
Like Nigerian beans. I love Nigerian beans.
I love Nigerian
but your farts are gonna be wild though.
No, it actually doesn't have that effect on me. I think I've been like desensitized. So she brought out beans, something in beans. There's also F4.
I love F4.
A combo.
We're gonna have it with rice.
Not beans and F4 and rice. Jesus. Then I'm really gonna be like thinking I'm pregnant. I might just have beans and F4 or we'll see.
Pick a carb, any carb.
Literally.
No, but beans are protein though, right?
But they have some carbs.
Like legumes.
It's just gonna be too heavy if it's too much.
Yeah, fair. Let's have a little bit of each in it.
We'll see.
Then you have to boil the rice and that's long.
Well, I'm really thinking about going and get the food rather than talking about it. So.
Oh, she said piss off, bitch. Right, okay, well. Fine. Oh, I was going to say, do you know what I'm really into these days?
What?
A salad.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not a salad
he made
babe.
me some at all. But basically, he made it, and he had like the leaves and then like avocado and these like tomato things. And then
who made it?
The love of my life. Would you think I would be making salad?
This nigga, Okay. He ain't made that shit for me. Do you know, I don't know what I was looking for. And I just saw like 2 tweets on, like I was searching for something in particular that I tweeted. So I put some like keywords in. And then I just saw like 2 tweets there where I'd literally been like, oh my gosh, I love my best friend's man. My best friend, I'm so happy that my best friend's with this guy. Like, and then there's another one that's like, oh, when you actually have a friendship with your best man's man. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm a bit too obsessed with
What were the dates? What were the dates on these tweets?
They were like separated, like they were like months and months apart.
I've never seen these tweets.
I'll send them to you. I'll go.
Send them to me. He'll be so gassed. He'll be so happy, man.
Yeah.
Maybe don't send them. His head is already big.
Yeah. Huh?
I said maybe don't send them. His head is already big.
Send them to me. That man's head grow. He's a good man. If I ever did see. And I think there was like there was one where I was like, there was one where I was like, oh, she literally found like the one decent guy left or something like that. And this was before I found my man. So
there was 2 clearly.
My heart has been swelling for this guy for a long time. But yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll have a wedding. Fine. Fuck. Okay. Oh God, I get it.
And all this what you've been saying is your own business. I've already planned the wedding, so
okay, that's fine. Just let me know where to be and what time. All right. Well, we are going now.
Yeah, tell him I want the salad as well. The
salad. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Next time you come in, it roll through.
All right, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Charity, I've never met your son Paris. I'm about to go inside that prison. What advice would you give me about actually coming face to face with him and how I should interact with him?
I mean, I think you should interact with him just like you do any other person. He's a human. I mean, be nice, be personable, be polite, because that's what he'll be. Nice, personable, polite. He's very charming when he wants to be. I mean, he is a psychopath.
I'm about to interview a murderer, unlike any I've faced before. Psychopaths may seem like us, but I want to find out how their minds really work.
All right, let me go down there and get this to him, and we'll start the clock on you when he comes and sits down. Paris, here we go. Come on over here, buddy.
Paris Bennett is a diagnosed psychopath, and with an IQ of 141, he's considered a genius.
So you're going to be talking to Pierce Morgan, okay?
Okay. The prison regards him as so dangerous, they've insisted I interview him behind toughened glass.
Hello, everyone.
Paris,
how are you doing?
good to see you. Thank you for agreeing to do this. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
To help us better understand Paris, I've called upon two of America's leading experts. Dr. Casey Jordan is a specialist in criminal behavior. Mark Safrick has over 20 years at the FBI, profiling violent criminals.
I mean, he's going to try and play me, isn't he?
Of course.
He's going to think he's smarter than me.
Because for him, it's a game, and he's got an hour to get over on you. And he's smart enough to try to do it. And he's narcissistic enough to think that he's smarter than you.
Yeah. And he's researched you, I guarantee it. And he is sizing you up faster than you're sizing him up.
The experts believe his mother Charity will be in danger. She's watching this interview to assess the risk. Her son was a juvenile when convicted, so he could be released in just 8 years.
He walks out of that prison, and if anything happens to me, everybody's going to know exactly where to look. So maybe in some way, it's an insurance policy.
But it's one you don't want to have to cash, because you wouldn't be here.
Seems like this should go without saying, but the last thing I want is for my child to murder anybody else ever again, especially me.
Okay, so I got you starting at 11:05.
Okay.
You have until 12:05.
Thank you very much.